gradually more vulnerable to the impacts of climate change. The food security issue remains a threat, and biodiversity loss has been occurring due to the rapid increase in droughts and floods and other climate impacts. These phenomena lead to famine and associated higher prices of basic human needs in most developing countries, particularly least developed countries and small island development states. This situation demands urgent global attention and concrete actions. In this regard, Mr. President, responsibility for historical emissions needs to be taken into consideration in a more concrete response to save our planet. And the most vulnerable countries deserve more attention based on the principle of the common but differentiated responsibilities and respective capabilities of the Convention. We hope that today's event here in Poznan might provide a fitting decision on comprehensive mechanism to push forward the important elements of the Bali Action Plan and obtain a political consensus at Copenhagen on the post-2012 agreement. Mr. President, as a new nation with very complex socio-economic conditions, we are extremely concerned about the adverse effects of climate change, particularly droughts and floods, which severely impact on our people's lives and livelihoods. The most vulnerable are the poor living in rural areas who are dependent on rainfall for irrigation, growing crops in thin soils, and who have little money to purchase food when crops fail. Climate-induced drought already causes widespread food insecurity, malnutrition and poverty in Timor Leste. Drought in 2001, 2002 and the late arrival of rainy season in those particular years caused a 34% decline in corn production in the west part of the nation, which brought famine to the country. Furthermore, climate models suggest that the climate extremes, which already impact on the lives of the hundreds of thousands of people in Timor-Leste, will get worse as ecosystems continue to degrade. A great concern is also the possible link between climate change and the El Niño events, biodiversity loss and property loss, as evidenced by the latest flooding and storms in the eastern and western parts of Timor-Leste. Flooding in 2006-2008 caused environmental refugees and property loss in Covalima and Likisa districts. Furthermore, sea level rise has affected our coastal areas, especially around our capital city of Dili, which is being threatened and is likely to be underwater in the next few hundred years. Mr. President, during the last COP13 in Bali, we observed that the European Union and other Annex I countries made a commitment to reduce their emissions by 5.2% below their 1990 levels for the first commitment period under the Kyoto Protocol. Then it was signaled the greater cut in their emissions would be made for the second commitment period. The European Union, for instance, was expressing their willingness to set an emission reduction target for the second commitment period of about 25 to 40% by 2020 and at least 50% by 2050. We look forward to concrete actions in the follow-up to this important commitment and look forward to the establishment of proper mechanisms to implement this emission reduction commitment. Timor-Leste will benefit from emission reduction through a clean development mechanism in the future. We will participate in this global reduction by promoting carbon reduction projects in the interest of sustainable development in our country. In fact, we have initiated our national renewable energy policy in association with few renewable energy projects that are currently in place, which might be considered as CDM under the Kyoto mechanism. We also appreciate that the United States of America, under the leadership of President-elect Obama, will lead climate change mitigation. During the COP13, Mr. President, the Government of Australia also ratified the Kyoto Protocol. We also look forward to Australia leading the way to the world's climate change regime now, up to and behind 212, based on the Bali roadmap, including adaptation activities in our region. Mr. President, with inform all parties that Timor-Leste has ratified the Kyoto Protocol at the national level in March 2008, and our legal instrument of accession has been sent to the depository. We believe that the protocol will be coming into force in January 2009. Regarding this issue, Mr. President, last month we finished preparing a strategy for the establishment of a designated national authority. This led to our participation in the CDM mechanism under the Kyoto Protocol. We also hope that the current methodological issues for approval of projects by the Executive Board can be simplified. Mr. President, we would also like to express our gratitude to the GEF for the financial allocation to our country to deal with the National Adaptation Plan of Action, NAPA, and the initial national communication, which has also been in preparation this year. The mentioned financial assistance is enabling our country to identify the most vulnerable sectors in order to reduce the risks that might threaten our people, including disruption of critical ecosystems and increased food insecurity. However,